Okay, so the learning target is that I can solve problems and justify my thinking. Oh, problems.
Sand.
All right, so if you're at home watching the video, you can pause it to write your learning target. So if we talk about surface area, we know that the total surface area of a 3D figure is what we call that total surface area. So it's everything that kind of touches that object or that thing that we have. So in this case, if I have the net of a cylinder, if you recall, we've already done the net of rectangular prisms and of triangular prisms, and pretty much the net is just saying we're going to take this and we're going to open it up and take a look at it. So if I take my cylinder and I unfold it, I know like this is the top, right? And this is my bottom. So in these cases, we would call these our bases, right? So these are the bases of my cylinder. And in the middle would be all of this right here, all of this. So I like to kind of think of it as like a Coke can or a Pringles can or like those things that oatmeal comes in, the cylinder shaped things. So if I unfold this, I see my two bases would unfold and be this piece and this piece. And then I see that the inside, the rounded area on the inside is this big piece right here, this area. So we have a few things that we need to know about that. So if I'm looking at my cylinder here, I know that if it's standing on a base, this would be the height, right? From one base to the other base, that's the height. However, when I unfold it, this is still my height, right? Because all I did was kind of unwrap that inside part of my cylinder. And then I just kind of opened up my two bases on top and bottom. Now remember, to find the length of this side, we use 2 pi r. Okay, right here. That is all the way around. What do we call that?
Around town.
The circumference. Circumference of a circle. Because see, it would wrap all the way around our circle. So this is our circumference. If I fold it, it goes all the way around this circle, right? So this distance is my circumference. Now, how do I find the area of a circle? Remember, I told you the area of each circle is pi r squared. That means the area of this circle is also pi r squared. Now the thing is, when we're looking at a cylinder, obviously we have a top and we have a bottom. So if we bring those together, we have 2 pi r squared, right? Because there's two of them. We have a top and a bottom. So this is how we can explain the formula for the total surface area of cylinders. We have to add our 2 pi r times our h, and we have to add that to our two bases, the area of our two bases, so 2 pi r squared. So I have to add this, plus this, which is both of these. So what does all of that stand for in our actual formula that we're looking at? My formula is my 2 pi r h, 2 times pi, 3.14, times the radius times the height, plus 2 times pi times the radius squared. So it's really long, but it's not something we can't do because we know all of this information. It's pretty easy to know 2. I know pi is 3.14, and I'm usually given my r and my h when I look at my cylinder. So let's make it a little less confusing now. S in this case stands for our surface area. We are looking for our total surface area. Surface total. Surface area. Surface total area. Total surface area. R, I know, is my radius of the circle, or in this case, my base, right? Because my base is going to be a circle on a cylinder. It's what it's going to stand up on. Because what happens if I take a cylinder and turn it on its side and it's not on a base? It's going to roll, right? So I can always know the base is going to be the circle. Then my H, of course, is the height. And remember, in this case, as I told you on our other prisms, the height is simply the distance between bases. Or in this case, the distance between the two circles. Same thing, just like on our other problems. So now let's just apply it. And I think it'll seem a lot easier once we actually take it and apply it to a cylinder. So we have a cylinder here that is asking us to find the total surface area of it. So there's a couple of things I need to identify. First, I need to identify the radius. And remember, radius is halfway across my base or halfway across my circle. In this case, my radius is 5. So R would equal 5. Next, it asks me to identify the height. How tall is my cylinder? What's the distance between my two bases or my circles? And in this case, it is this right here. So my height is 10. H equals 10. Next, it says to substitute them into the formula. Y'all know I'm a stickler about rewriting our formula. So 2 pi RH plus 2 pi r squared. Now, I rewrote it so that it would make it a little bit easier to sub in everything I know. I'm going to go ahead and start subbing in. S equals 2 pi. My R in this case is 5. My H in this case is 10. And then I have plus. Again, I have a 2. I have pi. And I have R again, which is 5, and I need to square that. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that in parentheses with my little square so I know that I need to square that. So now I've substituted everything into my equation, and I should be able just to go in and start solving it. So in this case, I like to do it this way. I like to go multiply all my numbers first and then go from there. So 10 times 5 is 50. 50 times 2 is 100, and I'm left, so that's 100 times pi still, right? So, or you could even do 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 10 is 100, still times pi. Plus, and in this case, I have 2 pi times what? What's 5 squared? 25. Now, I still see I can simplify this further because now I can still multiply my 25 times my 2, which leaves me with 100 pi plus 50 pi. Now, because they both have a pi and they both have a constant in front of it, I can add those and I get 150 pi. And now all I have to do is actually multiply them. So, remember I said we're going to use 3.14 for pi, so 150 times 3.14, and I get 471. So I have a total surface area here of 471 centimeters squared. Let's go ahead and flip our paper over, and we're going to do a couple of more examples here. All right, so let's just remember, I'm going to write over here just as a reminder, remember that radius is half the diameter. Right? Radius is half of the diameter. And that's just a little reminder as we start going through this problem. Because when I'm looking at this cylinder that's given to me, it only gives me the diameter. But I want to find the radius for my problem. So it tells me my diameter all the way across is 10 feet. So if I know radius is half of the diameter, then obviously my radius would be 5, because it's half of the diameter. And remember, our height, our H, is the distance between your two bases, your two circles. How tall is your cylinder? How tall is your Coke can or your Pringles can? And in this case, it's h equals 21 feet. So definitely not a Coke can, but still. So as usual, so now I know my radius. I also know my height. So as always, I'm going to rewrite my formula, especially because I don't have it on this side of the paper. 2 pi RH plus 2 pi r squared. So I've got to have my formula. And again, y'all know I'm just a stickler for rewriting my formulas because it makes it so much easier to plug in my information just by following what my formula says. So if I start plugging in what I know, I'm looking for S. I have a 2, a pi. I found my radius to be 5. I found my height to be 21. And then I need to add that to, again, 2 pi. And then that will be times my radius of 5. So I have to square that. So now I'm going to have to just move forward. All I have to do is start solving my problem. So in this case, I can do 21 times 5 or 5 times 2. I'll do 5 times 2, which is 10. 10 times 21, 210. So that leaves me with 210. Don't forget your pi. Still got to multiply that by pi. Got to still multiply it by that 3.14. Plus, and in this case, I'm just going to skip this little step because I know 5 squared is 25. So 25 times 2 is 50. So that leaves me with 50 pi. So now, I can do this one of two ways, guys. I can do 210. So I could pull out my calculator now, and I could do 210 times 3.14 and get this number. And then I could do 50 times 3.14 and add those two together. Or I like to just do this. Go ahead and add them together. 210 plus 50 is 260 pi. And now all I have to do is 260 times 3.14. And I get that my total surface area is 816.4 feet squared. So now what if I had done it the other way? Now I found 210 times pi to be the 659.4. So let's say I did 50 times 3.14, and I would get 157. So now I need to add those together. So 157 plus 659.4, I get the exact same answer. So no matter which way you do it, if you multiply these and then add them together, or if you add them together and then multiply them, you should still get the same answer using 3.14 as your pi. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do the last problem on here. Now this time I see that my cylinder is turned on its side. So I don't want to let this kind of throw me off. I still know the circle is going to be my base here. So I have to find the radius of my circle. And it tells me that it is 6 units. So R equals just simply 6. And my height I know is the distance between my two bases.
13.
And that would be 13. So H equals 13. And now I know, again, y'all know, I'm going to rewrite this formula. It also helps because every time you rewrite that formula, it's putting it in your brain. You're having to put it in your brain. So it helps to repeat it over and over. It helps you learn it. Now I have my formula, I have my radius, I have my height, I have everything I need to substitute into my formula and solve to find my total surface area. So S equals 2 times pi times my radius of 6 times my height of 13 plus 2 times pi times my radius of 6 squared. All right, so now we'll move on. Going to have to go ahead and do some multiplication here. So 13 times 6 gives me 78. 78 times 2 gives me 156. Still times pi. Don't forget that pi. Can't leave that out yet. We got to keep that there. Plus, I know 6 squared is 36. It's very important that we know what our squares are. And 36 times 2 is 72. And then we still have that pi. Now again, I'm the kind of person that I like to add my two pi's together. You know, because I like more pie. Because I like food. But 156 plus 72 gives me 228 still times pi. And if I do that, 228 times 3.14, I get that I have a total surface area. And you see here, 715.92. Most of the time, I will tell you what I want you to round it to, but most of the time, we will round it to the nearest tenth. So in this case, 715.9. And in this one, it just said units. So I'm going to put just units squared because I don't know exactly what my number is. And that is how we do surface area of cylinders.